Hello, and welcome to a new video from Beautiful Countries. This week you will get to know fun facts about New Zealand. So if you want to know these little known tidbits, be sure to watch till the end. Before discussing these facts, let's get into some information about the beautiful country of New Zealand. New Zealand is the ultimate vacation spot. Throughout 2020 and 2021, this South Pacific island nation made news for its effective handling of the pandemic. New Zealand is a very popular tourist destination. In 2019, visitors spent more than $115 million every single day. To further pique your interest in visiting New Zealand, here are some interesting trivia tidbits. After finishing this, you'll be eager to visit New Zealand the minute you can. Which natural landmarks should you be aware of? What can you get in Wellington and Christchurch? Just what does one mean by the term Kiwi? In what locations did Gandalf shoot his scenes? You can find the answer by watching this video about the country of New Zealand. So let's start the video. There is more than one type of kiwi. When you hear the word kiwi, the small green fruit is probably the first thing that comes to mind. However, depending on the context, the word might refer to three different things altogether, including the fruit. A native of New Zealand is sometimes referred to as a Kiwi. Many people who live in New Zealand identify themselves with the term Kiwi, but visitors to the country can also use the term. There is also a flightless bird that goes by the name Kiwi. You may find them in every region of the country, and enormous tracts of land have been set aside to serve as their natural habitats. The bird, not the fruit, was the source of inspiration for the nickname for people from New Zealand. And here's an interesting tidbit that you most likely were unaware of. The kiwi fruit originates not in New Zealand, but rather in China. National reserves make up 30% of the country. New Zealanders value natural environments. Mount Cook is the tallest mountain in New Zealand, and a protected refuge encompasses both the mountain and the surrounding forest. At Milford Sound Fjord, you can encounter native whales, dolphins, and penguins. New Zealand has a hill with the world's longest name. Tamata'a Katangi Hanga Koa Automedi Chiritpukaka Pekimanga Horonukopoke Wenuaki Natahu is located near Porangau along the southeast coast of the North Island of New Zealand. The hill rises to a height of slightly more than 300 meters, and it provides a breathtaking panorama of the surrounding landscape. But the name, which is 85 characters long, is what people remember it for the most. The word comes from the Maori language. The summit on which Tamatea, the man with the big knees, the slider and climber of mountains, the land swallower who travels around, played his flute to his loved one, is described in the English translation as the summit where Tamatea, the man with the big knees, the slider and climber of mountains. You can refer to the hill as Taumata if you don't feel like pronouncing the whole name. Wellington is the most southerly capital in the world. Wellington holds the distinction of being the southern capital of an independent nation, despite the fact that it is situated on North Island. The climate in Wellington is quite pleasant despite the city's location. Temperatures never fall below freezing on an annual basis, and during the summer months, highs can rise to a temperature of 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, 68 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. There are 5 sheep for every resident in New Zealand. One of the most important economic sectors in New Zealand is the livestock industry. Just in the year 2019, there were 37.8 million animals kept as livestock in New Zealand. There are 26.8 million sheep included in that total. At the time, there were fewer than 5 million people living in New Zealand. Therefore, this indicates that there are around 5 sheep for every New Zealander. New Zealand is home to a wide variety of other animals than sheep. The country is home to a wide variety of birds and mammals, including the kiwi that was mentioned before. Because there are so many different kinds of animals, the human population of New Zealand is only 5% of the total. Dunedin has the world's steepest residential street. Over 100,000 people make their homes in Dunedin, which is primarily a residential city. Baldwin Street, which has an incline of 19 degrees, is home to a sparse population of residents only. Because the length of the street is greater than 300 meters, 1,000 feet, driving on it can be an extremely challenging experience. However, locals as well as tourists have ventured up the treacherous slope by bouncing up and down the street on his pogo stick. One local citizen raised tens of thousands of dollars for a charitable cause. New Zealand pioneered women's suffrage. New Zealand women organized together throughout the 19th century in an effort to win the right to vote. During the 1890s, they demanded that parliamentarians grant them the voting box by submitting petitions to Parliament and having those petitions considered. Women were finally granted the right to vote in parliamentary elections on September 19, 1893, when the Electoral Act was finally passed and signed into law. The United States of America lagged behind New Zealand's achievement by more than 20 years. New Zealand was the first country in the world to do this. Since that time, women have consistently played a major part in political life. In the year 2006, women occupied each and every one of the highest posts in the country at the same time. This has never happened before in the entire course of recorded history anywhere in the world. In addition, Jacinda Ardern is serving as the current Prime Minister of New Zealand. Since 2017, she has been in this position. The Jedi worship across the country. In the year 2001, an email campaign was carried out all over the world. People were urged to respond to census questions about what religion they practiced. More than 53,000 people in New Zealand's population classified themselves as Jedis. This number does not include other countries. Given those figures, it was clear that Judaism was a more widespread religion than Buddhism and Hinduism. In 2018, there were only a little more than 20,000 of them. If you ask different people, you'll get different answers about what constitutes Judaism. However, some people have attempted to establish their own churches. There are 3 national languages. English, Maori, and Sign Language are the 3 languages that are recognized as official in the country of New Zealand. There are around 150,000 people in New Zealand who are able to carry out everyday conversations in Maori. The number of people who can speak this language fluently is 30,000. Since the early 80s, the usage of the language has seen significant growth in popularity, which led to Maori becoming an official language in 1987. There have been some bands that have released songs in Maori that have received exposure on national radio stations. New Zealand Sign Language is known by more than 9,000 people in the country. It is highly similar to British Sign Language, and it shares many signs with American Sign Language. It is also very close to Australian Sign Language. After years of campaigning, in 2006, it was officially recognized as a national language. New Zealand is home to Tolkien tourism. The Lord of the Rings film, directed by Peter Jackson, was shot almost entirely in New Zealand, with the exception of one particular sequence. Because of this, there are a lot of people who are into these books and movies that fly down to the nation. Every year, $33 million worth of revenue is generated as a result of tourism connected to the film industry. To this day, visitors can go to Hobbiton and see the sets that were used in the scenes that took place in the Shire. The government placed such a high priority on the Tolkien tourism industry that it appointed the first Minister of the Rings in the history of the world. Pete Hodgson, a member of Parliament, has been given the responsibility of directing the efforts to entice tourists to visit New Zealand. Hopefully, you've picked up a few new insights into New Zealand and Maori culture from this list of interesting tidbits. That's it for today. Hope you have enjoyed it. Do you have more interesting facts about New Zealand? Do let us know in the comments. Also tell us which country you want to learn next. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for weekly updates. Thanks for watching and see you next time.